Good morning, Sean here. It's time for our Revelstoke Mayor Report with Gary Sauls. Good morning, Mayor Sauls. How are you?
Good morning, Sean. I'm good. You?
Good. Another week in paradise.
Yep.
So we've got some concerns and questions for you. Want to dive in?
Sure.
Okay. So there's been a little bit of dust up again with the parking in lieu. And
okay. Yep.
One concern is that the parking bylaw review has been postponed and pushed. When was that supposed to happen, and when is it actually going to happen?
I don't know. The staff are looking at that, and they'll be getting back to council as to how we can deal with that sort of thing. There's always some concern about paying money in lieu when you don't see the amounts being built up so that we can actually deal with it right away. Parking in lieu, so, our staff tell us it costs about $40,000 for a parking space to build a parking space here in Revelstoke. We're charging $20,000. And then the question is, do we have developers pay for the parking space, or does it go to all the taxpayers and they pay for it? So that's kind of our dilemma with that sort of thing.
So one issue would be that each year that we don't have something built, the cost of this apparatus, this building to park and house cars, would become more and more expensive. So, the $20,000 or whatever the case is per stall now really isn't going to amount to anything. So we'll always be chasing this dollar. And we don't have anything. I was just going to say, we don't have anything in particular in place. So my thought was, or question, and this is just mine, if city staff had a building, a concept, an actual structure approved and ready to go, even though the cost of it would go up each year that we didn't build it, but if it was there, would it be easier for proponents to be able to take that, still be a bitter pill, but to be able to take it knowing that that was going to be built because it was pre-approved? It's just a matter of the dollars. And could it be readdressing the parking in lieu through DCC fees and building it up that way?
There's all kinds of ways to approach it. You're right. If we had a shovel-ready project, we see that construction costs inflate higher than interest rates. So we may have to go into debt to build something like this because it would be cheaper in the long run. So we're looking at all of those options and need to figure out really what's going to be the best for Revelstoke and for our situation, and kind of move it forward. But it's a good question.
So the patios that we do have in the summer months, and I'm assuming we'll probably have them coming out in the next short while, but it's a big question mark with the pandemic. But the patios absorb space, but it's a benefit for our tourism sector and the visiting public and that type of thing. It draws people in to sit out and enjoy the sunshine, so there's a win there. The rent on those isn't extremely expensive, meaning in comparison to parking in lieu. And so we lose parking in that capacity. So the cost of the rentals, of using up of the space, has that gone up? Is it fair? Is it not fair to half of the businesses that have to pay for the parking when the downtown core, because it's historic, they didn't have to deal with these issues?
And that's, again, another good question, but I don't have the answer to that. I'm not sure what the rentals on those pads are, and I don't know what we're going to do moving forward with the patios. So when I was on council previously, after the last patio was designated for a patio on 2nd Street, council at that time should put a moratorium on patios that take up parking space. And so that sort of thing is still kind of there. But that doesn't mean that as we, as a council, move forward, that things won't change. And is it fair to all? Again, that's something that development has to let me know, or engineering, as to what's going to be best moving forward.
Okay, so the parking bylaw was up for review and is still planning to be in review to see where we can go with this, because you've dealt with this before, like you said, when you were on council. And I'm sure this parking in lieu is going to come up again at some point. I'm sure of it. Actually, it did on 2nd Street again, a different project, right? So it's going to be a continual issue until something happens.
Well, yeah, exactly. Until actually the developers see that where they're putting their money is a positive. Right now, they feel like it's just going into a dark hole and nobody's building anything. And in the meantime, the people in the areas where they have to contend with the parking because there wasn't enough parking on the lot for this. They're the ones that are paying the price because they can't park in front of their own house. So those are all things that we need to address and look at as we move forward.
It's definitely not an issue that occurred in 1991.
Nope. We were happy to have a business wherever we could at that point. So.
Now, Cody had put a proposal up to kind of close down Mackenzie from, I think, Victoria to 3rd, just for walking traffic. Now, that hasn't been approved or anything, but that's something that will be addressed by council is it the next meeting?
Well, the proposal will come forward to council, and council will actually debate that around the table and talk about what we can and can't do, and see how we can address the situation, but also assist the merchants. So.
Oh, okay. So it might go committee of the whole first.
No, it'll go right to council. Should go to council, and then we'll deal with that, and we'll talk about what's going to be the best way to actually assist the residents.
Okay, so we won't be able to get into it until a little bit later on.
Yep.
Okay. Is there anything else that's going on that's good that we should touch base on that people should know?
Well, a couple things just with the roundabout detour. So starting from the 25th to the 30th, the detour will not be going up Vernon and down Robson and whatnot. It's just going to go up 8th and Mackenzie because they're putting extensions into the sewer system on some of those roads. So Victoria Road North, Victoria Road Southwest. So some of those residential streets will have some construction on them. So we're going to just detour that straight up 8th, down Mackenzie, over to 3rd and out that way for passenger vehicles. The trucks will still do their route down Edward and across the mill and back out through Centennial Park and up. So that's happening. And then, as you know, most of the parks have been opened, the green spaces, washrooms, tennis courts open today. We're hoping to open the pickle court soon, and then we're talking about skate park and the splash pad, as well as your son has requested that we deal with some of the playground equipment. So we're kind of working with the province and other communities in the area to see how soon we can get that all opened up.
Okay, and of course there was some recent news that BC is allowed to camp in BC and Alberta, and I'm sure you probably read that and thought, how are we going to coach that one? So how are we going to make sure that people are, you go to Wadey and, are you from Alberta? No. Okay, great. Have a good day.
Well, that's the thing. You're talking to some of the campground operators up there going, it's not open, but some of the people from the other provinces are coming and they're parking in the day use and camping and not really caring about the whole process. So I'm not sure how that's going to be policed. And again, that's a provincial issue. It's going to be hard to rectify. We want to have the tourists come, but we want to come at a time when it's safe for all.
Okay, sounds good. So if there's anything, let us know what's going on, Gary. And with the expansion of, us becoming friends again with our neighbors, we'll leave it up to Gary to decide if he's going to wander up to the studio again.
Yeah, I would love to do that. So we'll work on it as we go forward. But definitely that's something that I would like us to be doing.
Okay, great. Thanks, Gary.
All right, thanks, Sean. Take care.